So let's get to it. So as we know, our main topic, or our reoccurring topic at this time, is going to be in regards to the Derek Chauvin trial, and recapping what happened through the week up to today. Um, so here's what we got going. So last week was a lot of, what do I want to say? Last week was a whole lot of the prosecution and what they were doing, as far as, listen, the trial is, this is what we're debating. We're debating what everybody saw. So that's the biggest thing, that's the theme of the prosecution. And the defense is like, nah, he died, but it wasn't because of what you're saying our defendant did. So, the first part of the week was a whole lot of the witnesses, the people that were there firsthand. As you know, we saw there was a lot of youth. We had an MMA fighter. A lot of police people came in, and that were actually, that arrived on the scene at some point, or interacted with Derek Chauvin at some point. So that was a lot of last week. And then this week is more of the scientific stuff behind it. It's more of trying to figure out, because this week heavily is the whole he was on drugs thing. So that is a huge part of this week, is just trying to prove, more or less, was Derek Chauvin the one that killed George Floyd? Was this a direct result of what he did, or was it something else, and he just so happened to, overdose or something while his knee happened to be on his neck? So that's what they're looking into this week. So a lot of, so first off, they started off with a lot of use of force professionals. So they had a whole bunch of people. They brought in a guy from LA to come in, who's big on who teaches use of force. They brought in people that write the policies for the Minneapolis Police Department, as far as when to use of force, and the protocols and all that stuff behind it. So it was a lot of that going on, and I'll be honest, it seemed to me like the defense was gaining some momentum. This seemed to be the defense's week. Last week it was a whole lot of, hey, I was there. He put his knee on his neck. That's what happened. But this week is a whole lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And as they were talking about policy and excessive use of force and all that kind of stuff, they were getting to the ins and outs of that. And the defense did a pretty good job of using that information. But today, I think this is all going to come down to two people. So today, the heavy hitter for the prosecution, he testified today. Dr. Tobin. Man, I felt like I was in science class or physiology class all day long today. He was up there for more than half of today's session, and he was just matter of factly. I mean, and he broke it down. I don't know how much they pay him, because he's an expert witness, so they paid him to do what he does. And he was matter of factly. He was super detailed. He was doing it by the second. It was crazy. And he even broke it down to the part where George lost the last of his breath. So it was, he broke it down. And then not only that, he said after he took his last breath, his knee was still on his neck 3 minutes after that. So it was super detailed. I learned a lot more than I thought I'd ever learn about lungs. But apparently he wrote the Bible on breathing and the respiratory system, which I could use him right now. I got sniffles like a mug. I apologize. But yeah, he came up there and he said some stuff like, all right, put your hand on your neck. And the big thing that people saw was that the jury they were interacting with him. So at parts I was like, man, this is super detailed. But man, this witness was somebody that looked like he enjoyed what he does, and like he's one of those people, like you get him started on something, he's gonna go. So even when they were asking him yes and no questions, I mean, the judge wasn't even stopping him. Like over the week, people would be like, I mean, I guess you can say that, but see, this is what, and then the judge would be like, no, 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 you can't do that. Just yes or no, just answer yes or no. But they was letting him talk, and I think even the defense was like in awe of how knowledgeable this guy is. And I gotta say, it was powerful. Like we are getting to that part where we got to get behind the specifics. And so I know some of it's going to be boring and redundant, but it has to be done. You have to walk the path to get to where you're trying to go with your point. And some of the points that are going to be made in the summation, in the closing arguments, coming in the next week or so. I'm going to give this trial, because right now you have to remember, this is the state's witnesses. The defense still has their own witnesses coming in too, to help out with this and help them with their case and how they're trying to prove this. So this is, I say, from now until like next Thursday, there's gonna be some super interesting stuff going on. But he said definitively that man's knee on his neck is what killed him. None of that stuff mattered. And I gotta say, I'm getting more and more intrigued by the defense attorney. Man, he's again, like we said last week, he's wily, but he's trying to hang in there, and I think he knows he's in a sense uphill battle, but he doesn't mind. And he's handling it pretty good. There's some places where I'm not following him, but he's trying to pull pieces from out of even what the people that are against him. He's trying to pull pieces to help his case out. So it's very interesting. And one of my favorite moments today was the defense went up there to cross-examine Dr. Torben, and he was like, okay, doesn't this change in seconds, nanoseconds, blase milliseconds? Doesn't things change even at that small of a level? And he was like, yeah. And so the prosecutor came up there and was like, okay, he said something to you about nanoseconds, milliseconds, all these different seconds. How many nanoseconds, milliseconds did he take his knee off of his neck? And he was like, none. Okay, no further questions. So that was a really good part. I like that part of the of it. But definitely comment. Let me know what y'all think of what you've seen so far. But be wary, because the medical examiner is going to be Dr. Tobin versus the medical examiner. So we haven't seen a medical examiner that determined that the cause of death, that did the autopsy and all that stuff. Oh, also, they brought up toxicologists and their findings, and they said that some of the as far as the drugs that were in his system, I mean, you wouldn't even get the amount, the level of drugs. You wouldn't even get an average DUI. It was less than the average DUI level. So that's something definitely to we'll keep an eye on that. But the doc versus the medical examiner, I think that's going to be what it comes down to, because you can bring in all the people that say, hey man, his use of force was whack, and then you can have a lot of people say, no, his use of force was justified. And they're both fighting two narratives. Both sides are fighting two narratives. One narrative is I have to fight against the fact that they're saying, like, because they're putting George Floyd on trial. They're trying to say, hey, he's a druggie, man, and this happens. And, because of stress of the situation and all that, and he was high and all that cool stuff. Yeah, that's why he died. And they're trying to put him on trial. He's not on trial. We're trying to say that Derek Chauvin killed this man. So they're fighting on two fronts, and it is definitely going to be an action-packed. They'll probably cut out early tomorrow. But next week is going to be one to watch, because, again, the defense is going to get their opportunity. And also, keep this in mind. When you're watching this, You will see momentum shift, and you got to look at this from a football standpoint. And it's 4 quarters. So the first quarter is, opening arguments from both sides. The second quarter, right now, it's the prosecution. And then you have the third quarter, which we're currently in/getting into. So that's why you can see a little bit of a momentum shift. And then the fourth quarter is going to come down to those closing arguments. So whatever happened in the second and third quarter is going to tie into what plays they make in the fourth, both sides. So we'll see. We'll just see. So there it is. Week 2 recap. Obviously Friday they'll be in session, but this is the majority of the week, and through my eyes. So that's it. Week 2 Derek Chauvin trial recap in the books.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. Don't forget, every Thursday, the full podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and mama, I'm on Spotify. Overall 99 ENT bring you videos from Friday all the way to Friday. So be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. Again, thank you so much.